Hey, sixth graders. So the other day we completed a pre-test to determine what you know about figurative language before starting our unit about powerful language. So today is our first day of actually moving forward with our project and learning about what makes language powerful. So as you have probably already determined, one thing that makes language powerful is the use of figurative language. So we need to make sure we understand figurative language before we move on to our What Makes Language Powerful unit. So we're going to complete a small group project where we examine different types of figurative language. So for this project, we're going to try to answer 3 questions. And it's, what is figurative language? What examples of figurative language exist in our world? And how can we create an effective presentation to teach others about figurative language? So with that last question, you might be assuming that you're going to create some type of presentation based on what you learned, and you would be correct in that assumption. We'll get more into the specific requirements, but before we do that, I want to show you what standards you're going to be assessed on through this project. There are going to be 4 standards that are going to be our primary focus in getting you to master them and what you're going to be assessed on. This is the first rubric for your project, and this is going to assess if you understand figurative language, word relationships, and nuances in word meanings. So the primary focus is figurative language, and if you understand the deeper meaning of words and phrases, if you can use them correctly in your writing and in your speech, and if you can determine what the figurative language actually means. I can go over this in more details if you have a specific question. These will be posted in Google Classroom as we complete our projects. So next we have researching to build and present knowledge. So you're going to take all the information you find out about figurative language and create a presentation to teach the class. So this is the rubric that's going to assess your ability to research information about the figurative language that you're assigned. So as I said previously, you are making a presentation and researching a type of figurative language. So while you're doing your research to find information to put into your presentation, this is the standard that you're going to be developing, and this is the rubric that is going to assess your ability. So basically what this means, for example, if you are assigned the type of figurative language of metaphor, and you and your group go to Google and you type in metaphor, you have the ability to click on a website, to watch a video, learn about that type of speech, which is metaphor, take all the information from it, put it in your own words. So this is the skill that you're developing. So other classmates are going to be doing the same thing, and they might have simile or idiom or alliteration. So everyone in the class is going to have one type of figure of speech or figurative language. So then when you present, you're going to teach the class about metaphors. But then when other people present, you need to have the ability to listen to what they're saying, watch their presentation, and take in that information so that way you learn a new type of figurative language and then can show your understanding of it on an assessment. So the last rubric was assessing your ability to take in information from watching other presentations and then also from search engines as you're putting together your presentation. This rubric is assessing the actual presentation that you make. And this should look familiar because this is the same rubric that you used for your digital stories when you put that together. So the way this is going to work is you are going to pick 1 or 2 other people to create a presentation for your assigned figurative language. And I'll show you what types of figurative language we're going to explore in a moment. So you have to give an easy to understand definition of the figurative language, so that means that you have to put it in your own words. You can't just read a definition off Google and expect people to understand it. Make sure you're interpreting that definition and making it easy to understand for other sixth graders. Then you're going to provide an example sentence that you've created on your own. So, for example, if you are assigned metaphor, you have to create a sentence that uses a metaphor that you made on your own and didn't just look up. Then you need to find an example of its use in our world. So, again, if you have metaphor, there are lots of songs that have metaphors, so you might find a song that uses a metaphor as an example. And then have some type of activity for audience members, whether it's a worksheet or a group discussion or a game. And I'll show you more specifically how that might look again in just a moment. So the presentation that you make, I'm assuming that you'll probably use Google Slides, but you're not restricted to that. You could use iMovie, you could make a poster if you want. But whatever you decide to do, it needs to be visually appealing, accurate, free of errors. Then you're going to present to the class, and while others watch, they're going to take notes about what they learn. So this is what they're going to be doing as they watch yours, and then as you watch others, you are also going to do the same thing, where you take notes on what you learn, and then we'll review it and eventually have another test on this. So here are the types of figurative language that we are going to focus on over the next few days. So this is an example of what your finished product might look like. So let's say I was assigned idioms. So I have my easy to understand definition of idiom. It's a saying where the meaning has nothing to do with the words itself. So again, this is put into my own words. It's much easier to understand than just taking an exact definition from Google. So what does that mean? Then I have an example to help you understand the definition better. So an example of an idiom is a dime a dozen. So after I tell the audience what my figurative language is, I give a definition, I give an example, I'm going to go into more explanation. So I'm saying that essentially idioms have nothing to do with the words in the phrase. So this has nothing to do with money or the number 12. The phrase has a deeper meaning than just defining the words in the phrase themselves. So instead of just analyzing the words in the phrase and coming up with the meaning that way, you have to know the meaning behind the whole phrase. So a dime a dozen doesn't deal with money or the number 12. Instead, the whole phrase, the meaning behind it, is that something is cheap and replaceable. So this is an example of how you would really break down that definition, what it means. You break down your example into something that's understandable to your audience. So again, you're not just going on Google and getting a definition from there and calling it good, or Googling a sentence and putting it on your slide and calling it good. You really have to explain it to your audience, because you're responsible for them understanding it well enough that they could take a test and do well on it. So that also means that you need to have some type of interactive activity. So I have a video.
I got something for you, straight from the horse's mouth. Vocabulary. Time to get on the ball. It blew me away, no dynamite. It blew me away, impressed me a lot, alright? I'll cut to the chase, not a movie scene. I'll say the most important thing is what I mean. Things are getting out of hand, I know. I need to get a grip, I'm losing control. I leave no stone unturned as I go. I'll do everything I can to achieve my goal. So cut me some slack, give me a break.
So the video goes on and defines idiom and gives lots more examples by rapping it out. So if you like that, you could create a free vocabulary account and see if they have videos for your type of figurative language. So the last part of my presentation that I need to include is something interactive with the audience to check that they learned the type of figurative language that I am teaching them. So, like I said previously, you can really be creative in coming up with how you want to do this. You could have a game, you could make a Kahoot. For mine, I am having them discuss in their table groups and come up with as many idioms as they can. So they might get 5 minutes with their table groups to come up with different types of idioms, and then we'll share out. And the group that has the most, then I could give them a piece of candy. So that's an example of what you might want to do. This is the map of our project so that way you can pace yourself accordingly. So today we have Thursday as our project introduction. Friday will be a work day. Monday is a work day. And we'll see how we're doing. If toward the end of class we have a group that's ready to present, we might start presentations on that day. Then next Tuesday we're presenting. Wednesday we'll present. Thursday we will be finished with all the presentations and we will have a review of figurative language, go over it one more time, and then Friday we will have a test. And this is actually the last day of the second quarter as well. So that's what we have in store for starting our unit on powerful language and introducing figurative language to start with.